Hello everybody, welcome to Sound Editing and Mixing for Film Week 3, where we look at music, sound effects, and Foley. So last week was great. We looked at the dialogue editing and the ambience and creating, what we call a bed track of having that background sound that can help match what's in the scene. And again, this can work really for narrative, documentary. We're looking at this narrative film primarily, and we'll look at some documentary stuff. I'm hoping we can squeeze a little bit in between this week and next week. But either way, it's the same concepts. Like even with the documentary film, I'm putting background sounds, working on the interview dialogue, and then adding some sound effects, adding any kind of Foley potentially, right? So it's a similar style. It just depends. In documentary film, we can sometimes get away with less, but in a narrative film, we really want to hear everything. You can't really have a scene without anything, except sometimes you might just decide to have music, and that might be the only thing that's playing there in terms of any kind of sound. You'll just have music playing in the background, and it could take over the whole scene. So that's one way to do things as well. So, really interesting way to a few ways that things can be done and approached in that way, right? So that's kind of always a neat thing. In terms of uh, what's necessary and what to do, that's exactly what we'll look at today. So I just want to thank all our partners in making this project happen. So we have the Canada Council for the Arts, and we have our library partners, Blue Mountains Public Library, Collingwood Public Library, Wasaga Beach Public Library. I want to remind everyone that we have digital arts computers. There's the iMac computers that are loaded with DaVinci Resolve Studio on all of them. There's 2 in each library, so please go check these out. You can do your sound editing and mixing and design work at the library. It brings some headphones. You just need a regular, any kind of headphone can plug into the back of the iMac. Bring a hard drive. It can be USB or USB-C, Thunderbolt 3, and you can plug that external hard drive in. So you can bring all your stuff ready to go, bring it there, and work away. So I just want to encourage everyone to access these the resources that you can get through the Creator and our library partners. So I want to thank them for having that option that we can provide to everyone, those computers. So in terms of today, we're going to look at adding some music. Then we're going to look at sound effects editing and Foley effects editing. So we're going to add what's called sync sound effects. We're going to add some music to the scene just to get an idea of what could be there. And then we're going to look at Foley effects editing. So really there's 2 types of music when it comes down to it. We have what's the diegetic and non-diegetic. So diegetic would be what you hear in the scene. So if there's, let's say, music playing over the intercom or speakers in a mall, or in this case we're in a library scene, so that could be could be diegetic. It could be just like part of the scene. So basically, if you hear, if you're on an elevator and you hear elevator music, so that's diegetic. Non-diegetic is more, it's things like score, or when the music comes in and it's only the audience hears it. So the actors or the people in that fictional narrative world don't hear the music. So then it's just for us to hear as the audience. And it's usually for, emotional effect or to help the scene. And you can imagine, traditionally with scores, if you take a horror film and you don't listen to the sound, it's actually not that scary because the score, the sound effects are what make it creepier and scarier versus just if you watch it, it's not as scary. So sound is vital in that, and the score and the music is important in that as well. So there's kind of this history too of like the melodrama, and that was melody and drama. So that melodrama is a big part of things too. Like music can really play an important part. Sound effects too. So you can imagine if you're not hearing certain things. So door isn't opening, or footsteps, or things like that. Can really be. It could be missing. You could if someone's opening a door and you don't hear the door opening, it's why don't I hear the door opening? So it's really really vital to make everything, to solidify the soundscape in our initial sound plan that we worked on as well. So, going back to this, we have this sound editing plan, and this is what the whole thing. We made a list of sound effects and sound recording that you need, and also, what kind of music do we want to use potentially, stuff like that. So it's really, really important to do that. So again, we're working with dialogue. We started doing some of our ambient sound I like to put that together just to make sure that it works well. And then I know if my dialogue and ambient sound works well, then I know that adding some music and adding some sound effects will just be, additional layers that can be there. They don't have to be there. And I think one really important thing that we didn't really talk about yet is the fact that sound editing and design just doesn't mean that you have to use everything that you put in. You can decide that you don't want to use the music at the end in the mixing, and that's the beauty of sound editing and then mixing, is because you don't know how it's all going to come together till you're mixing and putting everything into different levels to blend it and make it all work. And it's okay. You might say, hey, I don't like that sound effect. I don't like that piece of music. I don't want to use that ambient track. And that's the whole point of, it's always better to have it more that you then don't use versus it going into mixing and then you're like, oh, I wish I had some distant railway sounds of a train approaching. I wish I had some birds outside of this interior that could help tell me that I'm in like a more of a rural area versus a more of an urban area. So urban, you'd hear probably more like car horns, police sirens, stuff like that, people. And then in rural, you hear more birds and nature, right? So those kinds of things are important. But if you don't build it in there, then you have to still, when you're mixing, then you have to build it in. So the more you can have everything done, that's really the goal, is get all your sound editing done first before you go to mix. Because you can always add the odd thing, but it could be really time consuming to, while you're mixing, to go, oh shoot, I'm missing 5 or 6 tracks that I wish I had. That's really, really important. It's getting this sound edit plan, execute it, but in the mix, you might decide to only use half of it. And that is totally okay. And I think that's, really important to emphasize, is that, we don't have to use everything. Okay, so let me just jump right into Resolve here. We have our sequence open here. So let's just watch this sequence with the dialogue and ambience tracks, so what we have so far.
Excuse me. Hi, I'm Barb. I noticed you're having a little bit of trouble with your computer. Just let me know if you need a hand. I'll be happy to help.
Yes. Well, as you can see, I'm struggling a little bit. Seem to be making a lot of noise, don't I? Oh, my name is Jeffrey Lincoln. I taught for 25 plus years at U of T. Oh, I've been retired for a few years now, though. Still, those were wonderful years. I have great memories of those wonderful years. Well, listen, so nice to meet you, Bev. Have a great evening. Cheers.
Perfect. So that's our sequence with our ambient tracks, right? So we've loaded in all this. We did our dialogue editing. We split everything. Again, if you haven't seen weeks 1 or 2, please rewatch it, and we'll go over. You can review all that, and same with today. Once we're done, you can rewatch it as well. But just going forward here, so we have our different ambient tracks. We have a crowd, room tone library, couple room tone libraries. And we added a little bit of crowd, and we labeled everything. So in terms of the tracks, what they all are and how they work. And we did a little bit of ambience effects. So I just wanted that kind of beeping sound of like, you know, books getting checked in. So that was the idea there, was having something like that that can work in that kind of fashion. So now, what I'll do is just go to my last track here, and simply you know, click on right click it, and what I'll do is I'm going to add a track and stereo, and we'll get a new track down here, and I'm just going to make this one a bit smaller, this one a bit bigger. And one thing, it starts to get a little bit squished on the screen. So if you can work with two screens, that's always great too. But just for the demonstration purposes, we have it on the one. And then what I'll do is we have background tracks. And again, what I'll do is from in my master, I'm going to right click, new bin, and let's go to music. And what we'll do is we're going to import some music. And I'm not saying that this is necessarily the right music, but just executing a bit of a sound design that I have in mind. So I'm thinking that we'll do something that's, you know, as if music's kind of playing in the library. It's kind of, let's just say it's like it's a new style of a library, and there's you know, kind of music happens now in the overall space. I just wonder if I have I might not have a lot of music available here. Let's just have a look here. Okay, so let's put this in. We got like this ragtime music. Okay. So I'm gonna make it kind of like, you know, this is cool. So it's like this ragtime thing. So I'm trying to tell the story, and maybe, you know, there's like a kids program in the background or something like that. So I'm gonna put that music right down here. So I'm just gonna overwrite it, and I'm gonna just put it in a couple times because it's a little bit short, and that's it. And then in the mix, we're really gonna perfect, you know, the sound of that, so it's like coming out of somewhere else in the library. So I just going to call it music, and we're gonna make it really, really quiet. So I'm just gonna zoom in here. So if we're gonna make it like minus 30, maybe a little bit louder. And that works well. And I'm just going to copy and paste that. And then we have our music.
So nice to meet you, Bev. Have a great evening. Cheers.
So it's kind of like, it's something in the background, but I didn't want anything too you know, intense to you know, make it into something too you know, too intense. So here's like some songs. Let's listen to something like this. Right, so something like that, Lonely Grief, a piece of stock music, it's fine. So let's look at, you know, I'm going to mute that, and let's just see, you know, we could put another track of music, and we'll say maybe we'll have like some like score that kind of comes in as well. So just in the mix, we can then decide, as I mentioned before, like maybe, you know, we do want to have the choice of putting some score. So I'm going to just have like music, we're going to call it music, but I'll call it like background music. And then now, so I'm just going to choose this one, and we'll put this piece of music in. Again, we'll need to play it. I always put them at minus 20-ish, just so that when we hear it. So, you know, that could work. It's a bit of a score piece. Okay, perfect. So now, let's continue on, and we're going to get into the sound effects. And again, I'm doing as much as I can within this session. This would be, you know, we're going to do a bit, and you would just need to keep working on it to make it, you know, work. So sound effects, let's put in, you know, some different elements. So I'm thinking I want to hear like a door, some sort of door opening. Door opening. Let's see if something shows up. Here we go, doors. Door. Knock on wood, metal doors. Let's see there, what kind of doors we have. Glass door. There's a lot of doors. Let's see what a hospital door sounds like. That could be kind of fun. So maybe, you know, there's a big like automatic door that opens. So let's do that. So again, I'm just going to keep adding tracks here. Make these all smaller. Right click, add track, stereo. Just scroll down here. Okay, and let's put that, we'll put that in the beginning here. And the idea is that, you know, that maybe the door opens. Again, you can see it's super loud, but you know, that's the idea there. So like the hospital opens, and that's good. That's looking nice. Door, bus, cupboard, dungeon. And maybe we'll just try some of these metal doors and just see. So, and this is where it's fun just to have some alternatives. You might say, hey, that one's too big. And that's kind of cool, just like that latch opening. So let's go with something like that. Sound effects 1. I just like to make these all into, you know, what they are. Just name them continually so that we don't have any confusion when we get to the mix in terms of what is what. Sound effects. Oops. Sound effects 2. And again, I'm going to choose that one. Let's zoom in on here. Let's give ourselves more space down here. Okay, and so we're going to take that metal door, overwrite it in here. So now you can, if I mute the hospital door, so it's kind of an open and close idea. So that's kind of fun. Okay, let's continue. So now let's have some more footsteps. I want to try and find like some, let's try the shopping mall. And that's kind of interesting. So again, it's kind of like an ambience, but I want to treat it like a sound effect too. So again, you can see as many tracks. The more tracks we have, the better it is to just organize ourselves in terms of, you know, what's happening in the mix, because then we'll have access to everything. Oops, put that in the wrong one. So mark this one. So that's kind of nice. We get a little bit of ambience there happening. Okay, and now let's start to get into some footsteps. And we'll find something. Footsteps. We're gonna find like footsteps on like a carpet. Should have something right here. Concrete. Okay, let's import some of these footsteps. So that's nice. And again, you want to try to match everything as much as possible, and so we can always cut some things and make them a bit faster. So we'll drop that in there. And you can see a little bit of it's not too bad. Then he has a little bit of a skip here. So then what we can do is just take the razor tool and we'll just cut that, and then we'll bring it in closer so we can get that little bit of that skip. That's nice. And we'll have a little scuff slide here. That's great. So I'm just going to solo the footsteps now. We'll just hear what that sounds like. And that's great. So again, these are just, you could always record these footsteps too, just with a microphone, and then just do footsteps on like a carpet, on a wood floor, outside. Or you can just get these sound effects of Foley as well. So it's kind of a great thing. Recording Foley right to picture can be a challenge, and but by using sound effects and then I'm just editing them, I can trim them, make them fit, and make it work, which can be really effective, and save on time in the long run. So this could be, again, a technique. So in a documentary, let's say you're doing an interview and then your B-roll has someone walking. Why not add the footsteps? Why not have the ambience? And that's where we can apply the same concepts to documentary film production as well, that we can just do this, plus we can have the Foley added and sound effects added as well. So that could be really great. Okay, so now let's look for like a chair, oops, type it in right, chair wood Foley. And it's definitely a wood chair, so that's great. We're looking at the right thing. So we're really trying to always find stuff that matches what we're seeing. That's kind of nice. So I'm going to put it back up here. I got some sound effects one. So we're just looking at kind of where he's going to grab it. I'll make that the end point. And then we can solo these as well. Let's overwrite that. That's kind of nice as he sits down. And you can see now I'm just moving it along with the arrow keys, the comma and period. And we just want it to sound natural so that it ends at the right. That sounds pretty good. And then we're going to get a little bit of cloth. Cloth movement. Let's see if anything shows up specifically. Human grab clothing. Let's try that. Kind of nice. We'll get like that. You can see that jacket dropping down. So let's put that up here on sound effects 1. And we'll try our score, and you can see now we have, this is all what we've created. So this is not anything that was recorded in camera before. Okay, that's sounding pretty good. And now let's put a little bit of computer typing. computer keyboard. Here we go. That's great. So I'm watching for stuff like, oh, you know, our female protagonist here has a, she's typing on the keyboard. So we want to definitely make sure we, put that a bit of typing with her. Okay, we'll put a big chunk there. Okay, and he's finger typing, and I think that's really important. We're going to try to make a little sequence with these finger typing sounds, and then we can hopefully repeat them all. Okay, and let's get a bit more. I think there's some good stuff there. So some mouse clicks too. We're going to just get some different keys in here. Okay, there we have a little keyboard typing, finger typing. I'm just trying to get rid of a few so it's a little bit, you know, kind of randomized. And then he hits the keyboard. We had some good keyboard hits already, so we're going to leave those that we have. And we'll look at the chair. Then we'll have him like getting up from the chair. And then we'll have a bit of like the scuffs of his feet. And we can import a little bit of hand shaking. Put a little bit of the wood creak down. And then she's working on something. So we'll see if we can put it like a mouse or something click. That one's kind of nice, I like that. There's some mouse clicks throughout here, so you know she's basically keeps working on her stuff. And then again, just a little bit of keyboards. I'm just copying and pasting, so Command C and then Command V. A little bit of the chair again. He grabs the coat, a little bit of that movement. I'm going to copy some of these footsteps here. Cut that. And that's where he starts walking. So I'm just going to drag it over there. Perfect. That's our main sound effect stuff. And we'll look at if there's, maybe we can find a bit of a hit and, you know, as he hits the tables there and stuff, but I'm liking where this is going. Let's find something, hit table, human hit hand table. That's kind of a nice one. Okay, so we can give ourselves a little bit of an extra hit here too. And here we'll just put, I'm seeing that he's moving around a little bit, so we're just going to put a little bit of the foot scuffing. That's kind of nice. I'm just going to razor blade cut that, and then what I can do is it's going to then go back to the regular selection tool. I'm going to click on this, and then I'm just going to use the comma to just slide it over a bit and make it a bit closer. And then we can repeat our door. So I'm going to copy and paste that at the end there. And that's great, because then we have that kind of exit sound, the sound effect that works there. So let's just play this back without any of the, let's play this back with all our ambience too. So there's gonna be no dialogue. So this is basically just our film without any of the sync dialogue. And this is our sound design. So let's give this a listen. Here we go. Perfect. So yeah, that's, as you can see, we've put in a bunch of tracks. We now have a total of 13 audio tracks. So that's our dialogue. That's our ambient tracks. We split up the dialogue into dialogue 1, dialogue 2, and then also sync dialogue, which is anything that we hear in sync, like the computer hits, desk hits and stuff that we might use. It's clean and we've separated that. So we did that. Then we did our ambient tracks. So we have crowd, we have library, room tones, we have a bit of the beep sound for like as if the scanner's going. And then we added in, we have like this concept of maybe there's like children's programming, there's background music happening, just an option in the mixing. And then we have this score happening that's there. Then we added our sound effects. We have doors opening, closing. We have footsteps coming in. We have computer typing. We have some cloth movements. We have some chairs moving, sliding, creaking. So really everything that we see, we should hear as much as we can. And you can see right now, without any dialogue, it totally holds up as sound. And the levels aren't all perfectly leveled, and that's where we're going to get to next week with mixing and we can use some sound design, some audio effects as well if we want to add a little bit of room tone, ambience to have a bit of echo and stuff like that. So we'll be able to do a little bit more manipulation with that as well. So that's basically our sound design. So we did a dialogue editing, we did separation for sync track that can be sound effects, we added in ambient soundtracks, we've added in some music, some score, we've added in some background music that could be, kind of distant music for a children's programming happening somewhere. Then we did sync sound effects like doors, computer typing, chairs, and also on the Foley side. So Foley is all the stuff that you hear in terms of what humans make. So footsteps, touching things. Sometimes keyboard typing is more viewed as a sound effect, but all that stuff. So footsteps, cloth stuff. So we added all the Foley things. And that, I think, in my opinion, Foley really helps bring the story and the film to life more than just without that. Because now we have footsteps, we have cloth movement, chairs, and all of that really sounds realistic, but it's clean. We can manipulate how loud it is. So we can make bangs louder, we can make chairs softer, whatever we want to do. And there is some of it in the sync track, but now we can just turn the sync off if we don't want to use it. So again, those options that we can turn things on or off, decide which one we like better, which sounds better. And that is really the great thing of being able to do that in the two things. So so that's where we're going to leave it for this week, and then we're going to get right into the mixing next week. So we have everything ready to go for the mix, and we'll be able to go from there. So again, all these tracks we'll be able to work on in terms of the mix. So yeah, that's you can rewatch this and review weeks 1, 2, and 3. And this is something that we're planning to load some sound effects and have some media available at all the computer stations and over the next few weeks as we get back to in-person access and then eventually in-person workshops as well. So, but in the meantime, if you want to, you can access the recording kit from the libraries, you can access the computers. So even if you have a few sound effects, you have a bit of, shoot a short scene, just even one shot this is what I would ask that you can do is you can shoot any kind of a scene. It doesn't have to be multiple shots, even just one shot, and then do the sound design. And then add all these types of layers. You can record some of your own sound effects. You can source some free sound effects or purchase some low-cost sound effects as well. But it's a lot of fun to record your own too, and try recording the Foley. You basically just need the microphone right next to your feet, and you can get that really nice sound for the Foley. So in terms of if you have any questions, you can email me directly, tom@tbmcs.ca. And I'd be happy to answer questions about this. And if you have, as you've been working on stuff, if you've been doing any of the sound editing, please send me what you have so far. If you want some options, opinions, any kind of questions about sound editing, mixing, happy to address them. Really want to emphasize again that all of these elements and layers can be applied directly to a documentary film. So I'm going to, next week we'll do the mix for this one, and I'm going to break down a documentary film in terms of what sound effects and design can be in that as well. So that'll be really fun to do a bit of a comparison. So just so we have that covered as well. So again, thanks for joining us. I want to thank all our partners, Canada Council for the Arts, all our library partners, Blue Mountains Public Library, Collingwood Public Library, Wasaga Beach Public Library. Be sure to check out the computer stations and also the digital arts equipment. You can take stuff out, sound kits, cameras, lighting, take it out and explore some of this wonderful sound and post work as well, and create some fun digital arts projects. Until next week, have a great rest of the day and talk to you soon. Take care.